Let me ask you a quick last question. My last question is, obviously your name is Jesse Lee Peterson.
Yes.
Are you related to Jordan Peterson by any chance?
To Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I've had him on my show before, and I said then we were not related. I do have a lot of respect for him. I appreciate what he's teaching out there, but we're not related.
Well, I was thinking maybe you could be cousins, you could be brothers from another mother.
Yeah.
And because you're both called white supremacists all the time, I thought maybe this could be a family business. So I just wanted to ask in case you were.
If we are related, I'm just not aware of it. We may be, because I do have white blood in me.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the far distant genealogy thing, genes,
Yeah.
maybe he could be my cousin. You never know.
You never know. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Nick Talks. This episode's amazing guest really is amazing. It's Jesse Lee Peterson, all the way from California in America. For people who don't know, Jesse has his own daily radio show across America and runs a successful YouTube channel called The Fallen State. Welcome, Jesse, to the show.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, honestly, I appreciate you coming on. Something that you did a couple of years ago, which I've now copied, is you started something called White History Month. And last year I thought, I like that idea, so I'm going to start something in the UK, but I'm not going to do a month because you're a lot more famous than me. So I thought I'll do a day. And the day I created last year was called British Empire Appreciation Day, because I was tired of people always criticizing the British Empire and never looking at the good stuff it did. It did some bad stuff, but it also did lots and lots of good stuff. So British Empire Appreciation Day is the 25th of April every year. So this year is going to be our second year.
Nice. Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. And thank you for the first amazing. I was waiting for you to say that. I first came across you maybe 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, but let me tell you why I started White History Month, because in America, white history is being erased, as it is in all of the white countries. And it's interesting to see that this country, America, was founded by white men, and they created the greatest country on this side of heaven with the help of God. And now, years later, the people of color are coming in, and they're literally destroying white history, destroying America, and they are rewriting history in such an awful way that it make America look like a hateful, evil country, and it's just not true. And they have torn down the statues and the monuments and the flags, and they are taking over the businesses, the government, and everything, and they are turning it into darkness, into evil. And so I started White History because if it wasn't for white men, there would be no America. If it wasn't for white men, these people would not be in a country called America. They would be stuck in their own hellhole countries, right? And so I started White History. This is our either 6th or 7th year, I think, of celebrating one of those numbers. And I wanted to remind the people of what America was, who founded it. And I want to encourage white people to stand up and speak up, and don't just be afraid of name calling. Don't be afraid and let these people of color take over the country and destroy it. So I wanted to, and then July just feels white, you know. July feels white. It's summer, vacation, reflection time, relaxing time. So that's why we do it in July.
And that's a good link with British Empire Appreciation Day, because if it wasn't for the British Empire, there would be no America.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's when the Western country, the world, they got to stand up, man. It's just so amazing to see them with so much fear of what people think about them, the name calling, losing their stuff. It's like they would rather lose their country and protect a fake image, or lose their country rather than someone thinking negatively of them. You can't help how people are going to think of you. And if the people that don't like America. They don't like it here. They can always leave. No one is holding them down. My concern too is that America is now South Africa. We are growing into becoming like South Africa, where the blacks took over South Africa and they have destroyed it. And then they're going out into the countryside there, with the farmland, and they're attacking the whites even on the farmlands, along the roadsides and everything. That is happening in America, and it's going to get worse if it's not stopped.
And very similar things are happening in the UK, not to that level. Like I said, I'm in my 50s now, and nearly all the way through my life, all I've really heard about America are the bad things, about how America is a racist country, how America treats blacks really poorly even today. And the more I listen to people like you and Larry Elder, and other people, obviously the United States has problems, but every country has problems, but it's not what we believe, because there's a whole level of propaganda directed against America mainly, but also now more and more to Western countries, that if the communists 50 years ago could have done what people are doing now, communists would have taken over the world. We've got people who live in our countries now who are destroying it from the inside better than the communists during the Cold War could ever do.
Yeah. And in all honesty, they are turning America and the Western world into a communist society, because the people, and it's so interesting because they're putting all the people that are of evil in the right position in our government. They have a whole bunch of black women in government, and not just black liberal white women and Mexicans and all kind of women, right? They got them in government, businesses, schools, and everything, because they know that women were not created to lead, but to follow. And that women are mentally and emotionally out of order. They cannot make good decisions at all. And so they're putting these women in these different positions of so-called power. And these women are making awful decisions. They're ushering in socialism. And that's why and then they have a bunch of weak men in position as well. But they're really putting the women there because they know that the men in government are too afraid to be straight up with the women, too afraid to deal with women in the right way. And so as a result of that, especially with the black women, the white men are afraid to speak up to them. The black men are afraid, like people like Maxine Waters and the Wicked Witch of the West with the low IQ, Sheila Jackson Lee and others. Those are evil black women. And they're gonna turn America into a social society. I just don't see how it's gonna turn around, because the people are too afraid, and we're too far down the road now to turn back. So what we're trying to do is get each individual to overcome anger, so that they can overcome the world and they can deal with the world in the right way.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of the UK today. So I actually mean today. Today is the first time in the UK that people are being paid today not to use electricity, because we don't have enough. And that's how much of a communist state we've turned into, that we're now rationing energy in the UK today, and people are being paid, please don't use it, we haven't got enough. How far has the UK fallen in the last decade to be doing that?
Yeah, that's how it's happening here too. They're no more oil drilling for the most part. They're now asking us to use electricity at a certain time of the day and not in the evening, all kind of crazy things. So it is happening here. And it's just mind-blowing to see it. Why do you think white men won't stand up in the UK and say no to this?
I think it's a mixture of weak men. It's also that I believe men have a characteristic, a trait that we want to please women. That's what we were born to do, to please women, to look after women, look after society. And we find it really difficult to deal with not with women per se, but women who we think is wrong. because we're afraid now of being accused of being sexist, being accused of misogynistic, every other isk and phobe you can think of. We're so afraid of that weak men would rather have the country slowly decline and be destroyed than for them to have to go through a couple of minutes of being uncomfortable.
Amazing. All men are afraid of women because they're afraid of their mothers. If they don't overcome the nature of their mothers, then they would never deal with women in the right way. The woman is just a female. She's not special. She's not this or that. She needs to be dealt with. There's an order to life. God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children, right? And so if men don't overcome their mothers by returning to their fathers, earthly fathers, and being born of the spirit of the father, they're never going to be able to deal with the woman in the right way. They're going to always be afraid. But they got to go to their mothers and forgive their mothers, all men, not just black men or white men, all of them. They have to go to their mothers and forgive their mothers for turning them against their fathers, for imposing her will on them and recreating the boys and the girls in her image, because the hell that's on earth comes through the woman. It doesn't come through the man, it comes through the woman. Now the man take over the woman's nature when he's born through her. That's why God said we must be born again. We must be born of the spirit of the Father. And so men must be born again of the Father in order to deal with these women. And just imagine, by not dealing with them, look how they're going out of control. And, we have illegal aliens coming here now, all from everywhere, and we are putting them in hotels, great hotels, not just cheap hotels.
Same as the UK?
Yeah, we're feeding them, giving them cell phones, and they're bringing drugs and crime and their junk. They bring their S-hole countries right to America, and they don't love America. They're coming to get free stuff. They're not coming to have a better life at all.
That's a good segue into my next question, which is, how much of our problems at the moment in society is down to the fact that we have no fathers in the home? So how can a young man growing up know what it is to be a real man, a proper man, when he doesn't see any of them in his house? He doesn't see them on TV. Most men on TV now are portrayed as fools. It's, the Homer Simpson character, the Family Guy character. There's no more positive male role models on TV. And the only role models they see are basically thugs and gangsters, and they don't even have fathers in the home. How much of a problem is that in the US? It's a huge problem in the UK.
It's the number one problem.
I agree.
It's the number one problem, because when you don't have that father in the home to be that living example, meaning that he's dealing with his wife, your mother, in the right way. He's providing. He's a good example, because you can have a father in the home, but if the father is not leading the mother, the wife, in the right way to go, she's still going to turn the children against him. And so we need the fathers in the home. That's why they take the men out of the homes, because they don't want that example of God in the home. They don't want, and men represent God. They're sons of God. Even if they're beta males, they're still sons of God. And so they may be weak. They've just been turned away from God. So when you can degrade the man, you put the light out so that the children cannot see the right way to go. And the devil, the evil that dwells in the women and weak men, it knows that men are sons of God. And that's why you have to destroy them, because you don't want the wife and the children to find the right way to go. I remember growing up down in Alabama on a plantation under the so-called Jim Crow law. But the one thing that the blacks had going for them at that time, they did not have physical leaders over them. They only had God over them, and the parents was over the children. And they worked hard. They taught the kids to work. They bought land. They fought and did for themselves. They were individuals. And they knew that our battle was a spiritual battle. It wasn't black or white. It was good versus evil. And that there were decent white people and decent black people, decent bad white people, bad black people. So it was based on that. But once the civil rights movement started, which was one of the worst things, other than abortion, the civil rights movement was one of the worst things that ever happened to Black Americans and to the country, because they sold the blacks to the Democratic Party for fake power. They wanted to be the leader of the people. And then government gave the blacks welfare checks and money and said, but you can't have a father in the home, removing Christ from the home, right? And since then, it's just been downhill. Fathers are crucial to the family. If they're not there, they're not a living example, the family will go to hell in a handbasket. They will end up angry, living in their imagination, and out of control. So we got to put the fathers back by waking them up so they can take back their family.
I completely agree. And we see this in the UK. So I've spent 2 decades now, mainly working on the streets with young people, mainly young men and young boys, walking into the troubled areas, chatting to them, trying to get them jobs, trying to get them to see a better future than the one they have. And this is a great little story, but I always know if a child's parents are immigrants. Because if I can walk up to a 15-year-old white, black, brown boy, it doesn't matter the colour, and I say to them, what are you thinking of doing when you leave school? What do you want in life? If they say, I want to be a doctor, a solicitor, whatever, run my own business, and we're talking about poor areas here, when they say that, I know for a fact, not only your parents together, but your parents are immigrants, aren't they? And they always go, yeah. A generation away from that, well, their children will say things like, I don't want to do anything. I want to be a drug dealer. I'm just going to claim benefit. And it's like, we destroy in one generation that family unit that emigrates here, and we destroy it in one unit, in one generation.
Yeah, they have to, the enemies of God, the haters of God, they have to destroy the family, because if the kids grow up in a strong family environment, when they go out into the world, when they go to school, when they go to wherever they go, the world would not be able to deceive them. It cannot take control of the children if they grew up with a strong family foundation. But as you said, unfortunately, that's not happening anymore for the most part.
Exactly. And we think sometimes, not me and you, but other people think a father in the home is only beneficial to the boys, but it's also beneficial to the girls. How are the girls going to know what a decent man looks like, what a husband should be doing and can do, unless they see it? That's why so many of our girls now make poor decisions, because they don't know what a good man looks like, so they're making the wrong decisions.
That's right. And the girls, when they don't grow up close to their fathers, they become just like their mothers too, angry and trying to dominate the man. They want to be the head of the man, but they're miserable. They're looking for the love of a father. And so the boys and the girls should grow up close to their fathers so that they will have peace within. They will have a direction in life. They'll be able to see. And the girls need the father as much as the boys do, because they both will become like their mothers if they don't have their fathers to protect them from the mother. So they both need their fathers. Fathers are very important, and evil knows that. And that's why evil, which is of the devil, try to destroy the fathers, to destroy the men.
If we're going to talk about evil, let's talk about a organization that started roughly 10 years ago in America, and they call themselves Black Lives Matter. I don't know if your researcher told you this, but 2.5 years ago, the George Floyd died in America. We had riots in the UK because some career criminal died in a foreign country on a foreign continent by a foreign police force. And we have demonstrations and protests in the UK. We've had 10,000 girls raped in the UK by organised gangs. We didn't have one riot when 10,000 girls get raped, but we have riots when a career criminal gets killed in a different country. So I wrote a 700-word blog on Black Lives Matter. I went to their website, read what they're about, and one thing popped out and I went, I don't like that. And it was where they say, we need to disrupt the Western nuclear family. And what that really meant was we need to get rid of more fathers out the home. And I went, no, because that's our biggest problem. So I wrote about this. not my opinions. I wrote what they said on their website. I published it, and Black Lives Matter UK and all the race grifters and race baiters all came for me, and they got me sacked from the charity I founded and that I used my redundancy to set up. And I was beaten. I was a beaten man. But then I decided I'm not having this. So I started to fight back, and within 5 weeks, I beat them all. Got my job back, got the charity back, and and I'm fine now.
Right on, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. But so my question was, I think Black Lives Matter are evil. I don't think there's anything decent about them at all. I think they're just a con. We've seen that now with Black Mansions Matter and the missing $50 million. And we see all this. How are Black Lives Matter perceived in America? And how are they perceived by the Black community in America? Has anything changed there?
By the normal thinking people who are individual thinkers, they know that Black Lives Matter is a very evil, radical organization. They are Marxists. They hate God. They hate the nuclear family. And they only want to destroy America. And as you said, make money while doing it. They do not care about it. Black Lives Matter, as you know, was founded by a bunch of fat, black, radical lesbians who hate everything about God. And so a lot of people know what they're about, who they are, but a lot of people are afraid to say it out loud because they don't want to have to deal with what you've had to deal with. They don't know that by dealing with evil, you can overcome evil. So they won't say it out loud, but a lot of people know what they're all about. They were chanting at one time, what do we want? Dead cops. What do we want it now? Penis in the blanket, frown like bacon. When the fallen Messiah, Barack Obama, was in the White House, and he invited them to the White House. He didn't have them arrested. He didn't say that they were wrong for doing that. He invited them to the White House. And it's just gotten worse over that. But most people know that these people are worse than the KKK. They make the KKK look like angels sent by God, right? They're so far left. They're so radical. They're so evil. But most people are afraid to speak up because they're Black people. And the people are afraid of the Blacks now. And the Blacks are going out of control because they don't have conscience. They don't have self-control. They don't have a conscience, so they're not being dealt with in the right way. And my concern is that it's just going to get worse if the people don't stand up and say no to this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, in the UK, when we had the riots here, some of the things they did. So obviously, you've heard of Winston Churchill. He's our greatest leader, our greatest prime minister, our greatest hero of the last couple of 100 years. They graffitied his statue. London had to board up his statue because they wouldn't stop people doing it. In London, we have the cenotaph, which is a memory to all the British soldiers who died in all the wars. We had Black Lives Matter trying to light the flags, the Union Jack flag, on fire. And that's for the war dead. They're tearing down statues. Luckily in the UK now, the brand of Black Lives Matter now is completely discredited. Some people still support it, but everybody now knows that it's a discredited organization. I just hope
they know they're here too, but they won't say it, right?
They won't. People are saying it here now.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that in your country, the UK, that they carried on like that, not knowing the real story of what happened, not knowing that George Floyd was an unemployed drug addict, not knowing that he'd been to jail before. It wasn't like, I mean, it's just crazy. It wasn't like some innocent guy tiptoeing through the tulips and that happened. And you have people in the UK participating in this evil. It just doesn't make sense. Those people are not thinking for themselves. That should not have gone down like that. And to destroy the real image of the UK and America is pure evil. Well, how will the next generation appreciate America if you destroy the real image down, the true image of America, the men who made it great, right? And put it up with a fake statue, as they've done here, of George Floyd. They got a Afro comb statue and some other dumb statues. It's it's amazing to me that this is happening in my country and in the white countries around the world. Because if white people become the minority and they don't stand up, it's over for the rest of the world. Because these blacks and these people from Allah Abba countries, they don't build, they destroy. That's why they go into the white countries, because they're not able to do for themselves. And so when they go there, they just destroy that as well, because it's not in them to make it better. They can only make it worse. It's a sad thing to see, man.
It is. I mean, your country and my country, one of our problems is mass immigration. That
Yeah.
the whole world wants to come to our countries because they're the best countries in the world.
Yeah.
And when people get here, they then say to themselves, "Oh, we need to change this country to be more like where I came from." Well, you have a country like that. It's called where you came from,
Right.
and that's why you fled that country, because it wasn't a good enough country.
Yeah.
So you can't go somewhere else and want to change it to what you want, because you had what you wanted and it wasn't good enough. That's why you came to America or you came to the UK. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. I think that's so interesting that they were able to get you fired from your own company. You started this company, right? That they fired you. How could they fire someone from their own company? How were they able to do that?
In the UK, it was a charity. So in the UK, I set a charity up, but nobody owns. In the UK, you cannot own the charity. So you have to have a board of directors. So I appointed the board of directors, which is a voluntary position. They don't get paid. And when they came for me, they went to the board and basically said, "You sack Nick or we're coming for you."
That's amazing.
And these 3, 4 friends of mine, they were friends of mine who sat on the board, all went, "If there's a choice between me and Nick, Nick's gone." And they sacked me over email.
Wow. So did you fire them once you got it back?
I forced them all to resign in disgrace
Oh, good. That's right.
because they were
Nick, what
cowards.
Go ahead.
They were purely cowards.
Yeah. Yeah. What a sad way to live. I wanted to ask, I know that a lot of white girls and women are getting raped in the UK by these illegal aliens that are coming there, the Allah Abba guys and other people. Is there an outcry about that?
No, there is if you speak to people on an individual level, but people are afraid to create too much of a disturbance, because if you do, you're accused of being a racist. And that's the most fearful thing in the UK. So we're at a stage now where we allow our children, don't forget, these weren't women, these were children as young as 11. I'm not just raped once, gang raped, driven around the country so other men could rape them as well, and then dropped off at home. Parents who complained were told by the gangsters, "If you tell the police, we're going to shoot you. We're going to come and get you." If you tell the police, some of the girls told the police, and the police said to them, "This is racist. This is your behaviour. You need to stop being such a slut." To a 12-year-old girl.
Wow.
And we all know it's happening, but even now, we don't even deport them. We've got 3 grown men who live down the road from me in a place called Rochdale. And 7 years ago, they got deportation orders to get kicked out to go back to Pakistan. They're still here because it's racist to kick them out. They weren't born here. And we can't kick paedophiles out of our own country. It's absolutely mental. It's gone crazy. And the reason why these girls are targeted is because they don't have fathers at home. Because if you've got a father at home and you mess with a girl, you risk violence because you don't know what that dad's like. But when you can find girls who don't have dads at home, they're called easy meat. They're easy pickings.
Wow. That's horrible, man. I never imagined that would be happening.
Yeah, most people can't believe it's happening. It's still happening now. Almost every week, there's a new paedophile in court on these charges nearly always get convicted, get a couple of years in jail, and that's the end of it. And it's like, if this was 50 years ago, you'd have men in these communities with baseball bats and they'd be dishing out their own justice for this. But now it's like, oh, don't want to be called racist, so let our children get raped. I don't want to be called racist, though. That's how far men have fallen in the UK.
That's amazing, man. Over here, a lot of people are moving from the big inner cities because those kinds of things are happening here, and even worse. And they're moving to the big, away from the big cities, kind of out into the suburbs areas. Are the white people doing the same thing over there, moving away from the cities, more to the suburbs?
That's been going on for many, many decades. Over here, we call it white flight. That, that all the big cities now are becoming more and more ethnic and more diverse from people from all over the world. And the long-term residents are moving out to the suburbs more and more and more. But that's been happening for decades and decades.
White people on the run.
That's what it looks like. It's a shame. I just want people of all ethnicities, of all people, of all religions to stick up for what is right. Because I believe deep down inside, no matter who you are, you know what is right and what is wrong.
That's right.
And we need people to stick up for that.
What a mess.
Yep. Let me ask you a quick last question. My last question is, obviously your name is Jesse Lee Peterson.
Yes.
Are you related to Jordan Peterson by any chance?
To Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I've had him on my show before, and I said then we were not related. I do have a lot of respect for him. I appreciate what he's teaching out there, but we're not related.
Well, I was thinking maybe you could be cousins, you could be brothers from another mother.
Yeah.
And because you're both called white supremacists all the time, I thought maybe this could be a family business. So I just wanted to ask in case you were.
If we are related, I'm just not aware of it. We may be, because I do have white blood in me.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the far distant genealogy thing, genes,
Yeah.
maybe he could be my cousin. You never know.
You never know. Jesse, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've thoroughly enjoyed speaking to you. When I emailed your production team, I thought, I'm not even going to get an answer, never mind a yes. I thought, I'll try anyway. And within a day, the answer came, oh, yeah, I'm sure he'll do it. So thank you so much for being a guest on my show.
You're welcome. Yeah, we try to get the word out everywhere we can because men got to wake up. Men got to return to the Father because the world need men. It's not going to make it if the men stay weak. If they don't stand up and stop this mess, it's over for the world, not just the countries only, but the world, because the power comes through the man. It's not through the woman, it's through the man. And men around the world need to get away from this idea that it's about the color. It's not about color. It's not even about male or female. It's the order of God. God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children. And every time men listen to women, they're gonna suffer. I don't care what woman, it's their mama, their grandma, their girlfriend, wives, the government, whatever. Whatever the man listens to the woman, he will suffer. We gotta turn men back to the Father if we plan to change this. May I ask you one quick question before we run? Did you go and forgive your mother? That means no.
Well, have I said that to her? No. I have a great relationship with my mother. I would say yes, I have.
Why haven't you gone to her and forgiven her?
Why haven't I?
Yes.
I think my mum did a good job raising me. I don't think I have that many issues. I see her every week. We got on fantastically. My upbringing wasn't perfect, but no one's is. And I forgive her as in, I know she did the best she could.
So, right. I believe most parents do the best they could, but the mothers can't help but impose their will. And mothers are jealous of the children and the father, so they try to keep the children from the father out of their jealousy. And so why haven't you forgiven her for the mistakes she did make? Why have you told, you know what? I forgive you for, I know you did your best, but I forgive you for the things that you did, the things you did to me. I understand you can't help it. Why haven't you told her that?
I shall go and do that.
But why have you done it already?
I hadn't really thought about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How about your father? Have you forgiven him for not protecting you from your mother?
My father died when I was very young.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
No,
that,
it's
man.
okay. It's okay.
What a mess.
Yeah.
Wow. So did you have a stepfather, if you could say?
No.
You know, I respect, I love the fact that you stood up and fought against Black Lives Matter. You got your company back, but you haven't seen great things happen through you until you forgive your mother, so God can forgive you. Amazing things got to happen, but you got to forgive your mother. She did the best she could. You're right about that. But those little resentments that you have, when you say, hey, I'm sorry for resenting you, you got to overcome that. Don't ask her for forgiveness. You forgive her and God will forgive you. And you haven't seen anything, man. It gets better. It become amazing. But you got to forgive her.
So do I have to forgive her face to face and tell her I forgive her, or do I have to forgive her inside myself personally?
No, you got to, once you see inside yourself that you do have this little resentment toward her, this anger, it will take place on the inside, but you got to face her so you get your courage back and so that God can forgive you. He said, go and forgive and I will forgive you. So when you say to her, facing her, you're going to shake in your boots. But when you face her and say, hey, I'm sorry for resenting you, whether she apologizes, it's fine. If she doesn't, it's fine. It's on her. But you will go free and your whole world will change. You'll start to live from within and you will overcome every issue of life. And it will be amazing for you because God it would draw you back unto him and he would give you back your identity that you had before your mother traumatized you. And it will be amazing for you. But you got to face her, have no expectation, and just apologize for resenting her. It's going to be amazing, but you got to face it. I can see that you're nervous thinking about it.
Oh, I really am nervous thinking about it. I can feel myself sweating.
I can see that in you too. So if you thought that you and your mother had a great relationship, why are you so afraid to face her and forgive her? All you're doing is saying, I'm sorry for resenting you.
I'm afraid that it will upset her and hurt her, that she thinks that I don't think she's done a good job.
But why does that concern you at all? That's her issue and not yours. She's unwilling to admit she's wrong. When they act that way, and that emotion that she has is of the devil. It's not even hers. It's that anger that she has inside of her, which is causing her to liberate her imagination. And that's of the devil. And maybe by you forgiving her, it might force her to look at herself so she can forgive her mother and so on and so on.
If we ever speak again, I will let you know how I got on.
Yeah, make sure you do. But I can see you sweating, man.
I'm seriously thinking about it. I'm not just, going, oh, I'll wait till this interview's over and I can forget about it. I'm seriously thinking about it, and it is making me sweat.
All human beings, all men and women are afraid to face mama. And they are afraid because they don't know how she's going to react or if they can handle her reaction. But I'm telling you, once you face mama, you will overcome fear. And there will be no fear inside of you at all. You will protect yourself logically out in the world. You will have practical, be careful of the world. But inwardly, you will have no fear because fear is of the devil. It's an abnormal nature. It's the ego nature. And you got that from your mother. And so you become afraid of what you hate, right? And so once you face her, God will forgive you, and that fear will be taken because it's the spirit of the devil. And he will take the devil's identity away from you and set you free by replacing the fear with perfect love, which is of God.
Right. I shall take all that on board and I shall let you know how I get on.
Okay. I wish you well, man. May I give out my website and all that?
Yeah. Anything you want to say, anything you want to plug?
Okay. The people can check us out at jesseleepeterson.com. And that's jesseleepeterson.com and rebuildingtheman.com. Rebuildingtheman.com. I really appreciate you having me on. That was fun. Thank you, man.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you for coming on. And your website and all that information I'll put in the description of the video so people can go in the description, just click the link and it'll take you straight to the things you've advertised. But thank you so much for being a guest.
All right. Thank you, man. Have a good one now.
And you. Thank you so much, Jesse. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye now.